tuberculosis, and diabetes. Among his academic recognition, the prestigious Best B Farm Thesis Award by Rajanji Bhai Foundation twice in 2010 and then again in 2018, and the IPER's Best Principal of the Year 2018 by Association of Pharmacy Teachers of India 2018. He has also received Best Faculty Drug Discovery from Indian Society for Chemists and Biologists in 2020. He has participated in several conferences in India, China, Bulgaria upon invitation. He has, to his credit, several papers published in peer-reviewed international journals and conferences. Presentations in Germany, South Korea, China, Canada, and United States of America. Sir has a total of 22 years of teaching and research experience. With these words, I request Sir to please start his presentation. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you. May I audible? Am I
Yes, sir,
audible?
you are audible.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir, you are audible.
Thank you, Dr. Shukla, for inviting me. I also thank your principal, Dr. Roy, and co-coordinator, Dr. Ravindran, for the invitation. And it's a very good effort you are doing in Columbia Institute of Pharmacy, AICT sponsored STTP program in two parts, right? So I'm in the second part. Thank you very much for inviting me. I look forward to interacting you people. So in this connection, I thought instead of going for a my domain area, he said the people, the faculty members are from different disciplines. They are going to participate in this event. So I thought instead of going into the domain area of design and synthesis, I made a general presentation which is about the research ethics. So it is very important when we publish our papers in different journals, or when we collaborate with many people for our work, either collaboration in terms of outsourcing the activity of pharmacological activity or the biological activity, because the pharmacy is such a discipline where you want to design or you want to invent a new drug molecule. Several disciplines are involved. We cannot do it in silos. So we have to involve multi institutes, maybe multidisciplinary approach. Then you are able to publish the paper in a very good high impact factor journals. Recently, we have published one journal in bioorganic chemistry where we involved several people, two, three scientists from Italy, Japan, then from IT. Same way, several people or the several scientists or the experts in the field, they involve in the one project. Our idea of designing the compounds and doing the synthesis. Once we synthesize, we have to look forward for biological activity, maybe MTT assay or the other enzyme inhibitory assays, then going for the pharmacological evaluation or maybe pharmacokinetic studies. Everything, if you want to do it, you have to work in tandem with the other people who are working in the area. So then only it is possible you can publish a paper in more than 5 impact factor journals. So when we do this, we have to follow certain ethics so that the person who is contributing to the paper or person who is working, we give due credit to him so that they will not claim anything against us. And we also follow the ethics in terms of plagiarism, all these things I'm going to discuss. So I have taken this topic as a general one instead of the earlier speakers who also talk about how they have designed, they have developed certain molecules. So it was interesting presentation I was hearing. So here I will talk more about the. It's just I will start sharing my presentation. There is some problem. Can you see my? Just give me one moment. I will try to. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, sir, it is visible. Your
Okay.
presentation is visible, sir.
Okay. So I have taken this topic as ethics in research because we have to take care. And here I'm going to also talk about some of the cases where, because of that, people have or the scientists who were working in the area, because of that they had to face the consequences. Their papers were retracted. All these problems happened, and even some people were denied promotions because of this. So we need to be very careful when we publish any paper, and we need to be also careful in looking for the contribution to the authors and all. So here recently, if you might have heard about this in the COVID time also, it happened that one of the paper which is retracted from the New Indian Journal, New England Journal, so of medicine, that this paper you can see it is about chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine. Earlier, they said this hydroxychloroquine with the macrolide antibiotics, that is erythromycin, or all these things, they may cause the untoward effect, and may the mortality rate may be increased. There's a clinical study was done, including these 4 or 5 scientists who worked on this. And in this is a Lancet paper, which was published. And in this, you can see Mehra and Sapan, Amit Patel, who have published this paper, and they told about the uh, hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, which will have untoward some clinical studies also in the Lancet paper. And this were done in a Surgisphere, which is a company which is by Sapan Desai, who is one of the collaborator in this company, who has made all the clinical studies in different countries in Australia, England. And this is the other paper by the same authors, which also describes about the mortality in COVID-19, that is the AC inhibitors. All these things were described in the New England Journal of Medicine. And this is also done by the same Sapan Desai and other group members. And they were Mandip Mehra, then Sapan Desai, then other 2 collaborators. So all these people have worked on this. And when the Lancet and the New England Journal, which got some doubt about this paper, and they asked the raw data. And the raw data, they said it is done by a company, Surgifair, and this company in Chicago, and they asked inquire about this company and asked Sapan Desai to produce the raw data, and he was not able to produce the raw data. And then slowly these people, the Mandip and other Amit and other people who were working on this paper, they informed that this paper has to be retracted because we are not sure about the whatever the clinical data he has produced. And this company, it doesn't have any, they have not done much in the scientific community. They did not do anything before, and suddenly they were publishing such a good journal with a high impact factor. So they really got doubt on this, and finally it was retracted. So there are very lot of controversies, right, with the hydroxychloroquine in that time, and it is not effective and all. So because of this, they have to face a lot of consequences. Some people have not promoted because of this. So we need to be very careful on these things when we publish in collaboration and see that everything is okay before publishing it. And I also suggest one of this the paper, the book you need to read about anything in detail about this, which is author is Catherine, who has written this Bottle of Lies. She talks about a lot of
Uh,
things about, yeah,
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
yes,
actually, your slides are not rotating.
okay, slides
It
are
is not slides are not rotating. You can use the downward arrow, keeping it in normal view, so we can.
okay. Now you can see.
Yes, sir. Bottle of lies. That slide is visible.
Yeah. But when I change it, it is not moving
Yes, sir.
somehow. One second, I'll try to fix the problem. Is it full screen now?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
It's moving now? No,
No, sir.
it's in the
So
bottle
you
of lies. Yeah. Okay. Can I do like this?
you can keep your arrow on the left hand side where it is mentioned 2, 3, 4, and then you can click on that particular slide, and
Okay.
then
Okay.
it can be visible if you rotate.
Okay. But it cannot be full screen, right? Now it is full screen. Are you able to see the full screen mode? No.
No, sir.
Sometimes I think this Google Meet has this problem. It is not going for the full screen mode.
So while presenting, you can go for present your entire screen so that.
I made it entire screen only.
Okay. Okay, sir.
I'll check with the other one. Now,
So it is visible, but
okay, not full
when
screen.
you, but when you'll rotate, it will be more clear.
Okay. Okay. Anyways, I'll make it this one a little smaller. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is the book Bottle of Lies. you might have read some people might have read this book. This book talks about what is happening. Mostly it is about India and China. What what are the malpractices or the fraud practices which are happening in Indian companies. It talks about those things. So the Ranbaxy, how what is the downfall of Ranbaxy uh, from starting from uh, the Indian multinational company, which is from 81 to 90. It has been one of the very good company in India, producing the generic medicine and supplying to US and other countries. And because of there were a lot of fraud things which was going on, and there was a person whistleblower, and he complained to FDA, and several other people also who complained, and they started inquiring about it, and they found there are a lot of things, lot of data which were manipulated. So this book talks about those things, and similarly some Chinese company, it also talks about those things. If you have a chance, you should read this book. It is about the pharmaceutical industry in India. So the small things, how uh, they manipulated and ended up in a lot of problems. Finally, they have to sell this Ranbaxy, and it has been sold again to Sun Pharmaceuticals. Now it is with the Sun Pharmaceuticals. So they're also not able to manage very well with this company. So because of the frauds which were, so we can't live with any false or manipulated data. One or the other, some days this can come out. So we need to be very careful. That's what I want to say. And there are several papers you can see during last 1 year. There are earlier also there are several papers in the about COVID which has been retracted. Of course, we need the fast research on this area so that we can control the COVID 19. But it doesn't mean that we compromise on many things. That is very important. We have to work in such a way that we produce a good data, proper data without any manipulation, and which can help the society. So that's why I would like to take this as, because everyone is affected by this, and anything false data is produced, which is affected to the society. So uh, instead of doing such kind of things, we get whatever the result we get, we should convey it to the larger public or the society. Based on that, people start working on that. And based on that, people take a lot of inferences on that. So it is very important in order to, uh, or we are in the research field, we need to be careful while or double check. We don't believe our students, or maybe everything based on the trust. Make sure that our students also work in such a way that they, and we teach them in such a way that they don't do such kind of things, right? So that is very important. That's why I have chosen this topic, and I'm going to speak on this topic with the following titles, I would say. So first thing is the communication of scientific data. So in order to, we do research, everyone does the research. Maybe we give a project to our M.Pharm students or B.Pharm students and the PhD students. Once we did that, then they start working on the project or the problem, and they get some results. So it is not enough we get that result and we keep it in the thesis and in the library. So it has to be communicated. It has to be communicated so that everyone will know that people, we are doing this research and this is the result we are getting with this, so that they can proceed with the further step. So it is for the betterment of science. So it is stepwise progress in the science. You want to progress in science, we need a drug or we need a vaccine for COVID-19. So somebody has to do something, the basic research, and further somebody has to commercialize it or maybe go for the further studies. So that way, the research or the scientific data uh, or whatever we have, we need to communicate to the larger audience. So communication of data is very important in the form of either making a presentation or in the conferences or in the form of publication or paper in a conference or maybe publication of papers or publication of patents. All these modes we know that, or delivering earlier, maybe if you see in the 18th century, they used to uh, inform the scientific community in the Royal Chemical Society. But they used to inform by making a presentation, and the doubts were cleared by the presentation. Now we have to publish it. We have to publish in very good journals. So that I'm going to talk. And I'm going to talk about what are the scientific misconduct which are happening and some of the case studies, all these things. And also I talk about the plagiarism, which is a very uh, major part of this scientific misconduct. I'll be talking about that and why people do this misconduct, why they don't follow the scientific ethics. Maybe some of them may not be knowing or aware of these things, and how to avoid this plagiarism. That also I'll be talking about. And so what are the regulations? Regulatory bodies in India and in US are available to stop this scientific misconduct or informing the scientific misconduct. All these things I'll be talking about. So next, so we'll start with the first topic, what we say in this presentation, that is, yeah. So communicating to communication of scientific data, as I said, it is very important. We have to communicate. So everybody in this business, or everybody, every one of us who are doing research, finally our aim is to publish a paper or either uh, file a patent, publish or file a patent. So that is our aim, final aim. We depends on what kind of journal is available for publication, or what kind of research work we did, whether we think our research work is of a high standard, then we go for the good high impact factor journals. If our publications are, we are done uh, not so major work, it's a minor work, then we look for the journals with the low impact factor. So it's important for the progress of science. Once you do something, then the scientists will work upon it and further they do. So that way, so how the mobile phones invented, you can see, start with the phone, then mobile phones, then now you have the touch screen mode, and further, there are a lot of research, further people work on that. Finally, we have a good version of mobile phones now. And there may be also the uh, advancement in this slowly. So one person has done something, again it will be advanced by some other person. So that way the science grows. So it is important, we need to publish and tell the world that we have done this and we got this result. So that's why, then every one of you who are working in this, you know that, right? And it also benefit the society. If you done something antiviral agents, we or designed a molecule or synthesized, and it has a good biological activity. So it will be beneficial for as an antiviral agent. So we are designing a new molecule with less toxic and highly safe molecule that will be beneficial. So it is a beneficial to the society. It is beneficial for each and every one of us. So that benefit is there, and progress can be done in the science. So when we communicate, it's very important. Trust is a hallmark of the science. So everything works with the trust. Everybody has to trust each one of us so that whatever we publish, whatever we present, that is true. So anyway, if you have done some animal experiment, the reviewer cannot go to your lab and see whether you have got the proper result or not. It is based on the trust. You have done this work and you are getting this result. So people start doing something, falsification or the fudging of the data there, then we cannot understand whether he has done or not. Only theoretically we say this we should not. For example, you are doing a chemical reaction. So sometimes it is not possible at all. There is no nucleophile. You said there is a nucleophilic substitution. It's not possible. So theoretically people can say it is not possible at all. But in case of biological data, where it is on based on the trust, you say the rat experiment with this animals like rat, mice, or guinea pigs. You said you are saying that this is the result I'm getting. Either I need to go to the lab and check whether you are getting the result properly or not, or this is the result or not. So based on that, so it is everything based on the trust. So we have to be trustworthy in this. Then integrity, transparency. We should be transparent. Many cases we have seen people were not transparent. They don't produce a negative result. You know that many times the industry people, instead of showing the COX-2 inhibitors, that was the major controversy with the Merck which happened. So I'm also going to talk about those things. So they did not show the negative results. So those things, and no biased results. We should not be biased with the result. We are thinking that we should get positive result. They should be positive, and negative result also should be communicated. And it is the integrity. We have to give the credit to those people who are contributing in our scientific discoveries. We should give due credit to them. All these things are becoming very important when we talk about the communication of scientific data for publications. So we have to take care of the scientific or the integrity, trust, everything. So why we need to publish? People may ask why we need to publish paper or why need to patent. So it is important for our recognition. We are recognized in the scientific community or people who are doing in the area of, or maybe in the pharmaceutical community or in the our peers. We are recognized because we have done a publication in a good journal and you're doing some research, you are recognized. So that recognition we need to get by, or we can get by publishing our scientific data. Whatever research we do, we publish in a good impact factor. There nowadays you might have seen there are so many journals which says all this starts with the international journal of this, international journal of that, and you pay some money and they publish the scientific article without reviewing it. Don't go for such kind of publication. See to it that you're publishing in a good impact factor journals. You can There are some criteria like NIF, National Institute ranking framework. They only consider the journals which are in Scopus or Web of Science. So make your expectation in such a way that you publish in those journals. There are a list of journals in the Scopus, list of journals in the uh, Web of Science. So try to publish in those journals so that you get the recognition. If you publish in any journal which is says that impact international journal this that, and that also uh, uh, publish your scientific article without reviewing and by just paying the money they publish. Don't try to publish on those journals. See to it that uh, it should be in an impact factor journals. So that becomes very important. And if you're working in an institute or a college, you want promotions from level 1 to 2, or maybe from assistant professor to associate or professor, you need to have good number of publications. So you need to have publication in the high impact factor journals, etc. So that is an important aspect in publication of papers in the high impact factor journals. And maybe you need a job or postdoctoral fellowship in different countries. You need to have publication in the impact factor journals. Grants, you need funding for your research, maybe DST, SARB, or DBT, or maybe ICT, major research project, or RPS, or any other ICMR projects, extramural research projects you want to get. They will also see your publication, whether you are capable of doing individual research or not. So you want grants or funding from different agencies. You need to publish in good impact factor journal. You have a publication, for example, in Journal of Medicinal Chemistry, or maybe in the European Journal of Medicinal Chemistry, or Bioorganic Chemistry, or Chemical Science, or Nature, or something. Definitely, we'll get the fundings from the government agencies. I think you must be aware, Dr. Shukla, you also got the FIST grant. So when you go for the presentation in the FIST grant, it's my experience when we went there, they asked how many papers in the Scopus. Show me those papers. That's all. Then we showed several papers in the Scopus. Then they asked, some were review articles. Then they said, I want research articles. Show me the research articles only. Then we showed the research article. Then I showed some of the papers in medicinal chemistry, that is computational work. He said, I want lab research work. So based on that, they selected the FACE grant. So they ask for the impact factor and research articles, and that too in a lab related research, not even computation. You sitting in the computer and write the papers. They said, no, we don't consider this as research articles. You need to have wet lab experiments. So then you publish the paper in those journals. Then they say, yes, this is the paper. And you have the ability to publish paper. You have the ability to conduct independent research work. Yes, we are going to give the infrastructure grant fund for developing the infrastructure. So that way, and you have, there are funding agencies like DBT, Welcome Trust. There are several. You even get the salary up to 1 lakh rupees in these, but depends on your publication. If you have a publication in, as I said, Lancet or New England journals, or maybe Royal Chemical Society, American Chemical Society, all these things, then they will say, yes, this person has a capability to do independent research, because publishing in those journals, it takes a lot of time, lot of effort, everything. It is not easy to publish in those journals, right? you need to have a lot of experiments. So recently we published a article by BOC. I said we started sending those articles to different journal like GMC, then EJMC. They outrightly rejected, saying that we need biological data. Your biological data is not up to the level, or maybe you are not done the in vivo study. That is one of the comment we received. So that means those journals expect now all the animal studies data, then biological enzyme assay, then pharmacokinetic and ACR, QSAR, everything to be done to publish in those journals. So that will give us recognition, that will give us the promotion, that can give us the grant. So we need to publish in a good journals, or maybe you can go for the patent, and industry has to accept you. Maybe you can patent anything. Then once you patent, it is published and it is granted, at least some of the industry should come forward to take your patent. There should be also technology transfer, or maybe incubation. That should happen with your patent. It's not just you're patenting it and keeping it, nobody looks into your patent. Should not happen that way. It should also be transferred to the industry or technology. So we are talking about what is ethics in research or misconduct in science. Those things, these are the two topics we are going to deal with now. So if you see this report, wherein there are also the several frauds, it is almost equal or more than that. The below one, the orange and red, you can see these are the falsifications, and above one, the green and blue, those are normal articles which are not. So it is number is increasing every year, and how many papers are published, same number of papers also retracted. And there are also the frauds in those journals. And here I got some details in 2000 till 2018, highest number of frauds or in these, they are United States, then China, then Japan, then is India. So it is a statistics which shows the number of retracted articles every year in different countries. So we are in the fourth position as per this. So number of papers, 10,000 papers. Out of that, how many are retracted papers? It is not only the small journals, it is also seen in the high impact factor, like impact factor journals like Nature. So this is the one article you can see. Nature concern the people. Nature cancer paper raises that raise animal welfare concerns. So is retracted. So there are number of such kind of papers. You can also see the Science also retracted their papers. So it is not that today you publish a paper and nothing will happen to that. It is after some time also, after maybe years, after maybe after several years, months or days, it can also. And this is a person who got Nobel Prize in physics, who immunologist, University of Texas. So, a 2011 Nobel Prize in Physiology. He got Physiology Nobel Prize, but his paper is also retracted. So, we need to be, we need not be so hurried to publish in a good journal without looking into the raw data. Raw data in the sense when you ask your student to do research and they have to write each trial. This maybe they are taking several trials. So what is the value in each trial? Maybe they're writing the notes where their procedures are written exactly. Maybe TLC is written there. What is the TLC of the sample? So look into the raw data properly and understand it. Then you can publish the papers. So that way, instead of uh, l- instead of not looking it properly and immediately publishing and hurriedly publishing in a journal may cause a lot of problems. So this is other paper which also was retracted. There are several examples I give when I talk about these things. I'll not take a lot of time in these examples. So you can see, we can just put it. So after 10 years, the paper was retracted. So it takes a lot of whistleblower is vindicated and for the paper. And in the science paper, you can just Google it. You can find retracted papers. You can find several papers are retracted in either Science, Nature, or maybe the other journals, as I said in the starting, Lancet. So it's several examples are there. So it's very important that we have to see that we did a proper uh, research and there is no such kind of misconduct. And second topic, we go into the scientific misconduct. What all things are called as misconduct? We need to understand this. So papers are retracted. We have seen several papers are retracted, and which type of paper is retracted, and why those papers are retracted. That we talk about. And what are these scientific misconduct that we are going to talk? They are plagiarism. Plagiarism, copying, copy, cut, copy, paste. So you are just copying a sentence, maybe paraphrasing it, those things. So you are taking, when you write the article, you find there are several articles which are written very beautifully. The introduction is very nice, everything. You just take it. This happens with each and every one. The students, this is rampant. Each and you ask them to write the assignment, you ask them to write the manuscript, they will start taking from the internet and take it and put it there. You ask them to write thesis, they do it. So that is a plagiarism. And falsification. You are giving a false data, you have not done any experiments, you are giving some data, false data. And purging of the data, purging, you are not getting the proper results, but you manipulate it, make it in such a way that you get the positive data. Fabrication, it is also similar to purging of the data, there where you change your data, you manipulate it in such a way that you get, for example, if you don't get the activity in nanogram, IC50 is not in nanogram scale. Some of the good publication, they don't accept it. So you may be, so you manipulate those data and show that nanogram or microgram scale as if 50 values. So in order to publish, or you making it up so that you are, or maybe in the animal studies, you are not getting any positive results. All the activity is less than the standard. So no paper will accept it if you are not having the such kind of, or maybe one or two compounds you may be having good data, then whatever all the compounds you're making it up so that the good activity you're getting. And sometimes we have not referred, that is also, I'll come into that. So here, not reporting related contradictory work, we are not related, there is some other related, we are not in, and not giving credit, that is also scientific misconduct, because you are taken the help from a biologist, or maybe you are taken help from the other people who are responsible for the animal studies. They are done, you're sending the sample for animal studies, and some people have helped you to do the animal studies. And finally, you say you are taken. This is also rampant in many cases. Once you get the data, everything, you don't pay attention to give the credit to them. And manipulating data, manipulation, everything, purging or falsification of the data, all this comes in this. So you are not giving any credit to them. That is also not good. So maybe they can claim after that, this we are done this, and you are not given any credit to us. Or maybe you are taken the all the details, finally you are not helping, you are not publishing their names in the paper, or you are not writing. Turning someone's work uh, as your work. It is somebody has done some work and you are saying it is your work. That is also one case of scientific misconduct. Copying word to word ideas, everything, copy, cut, copy, paste, or you're copying the idea, copying everything. That is also failing to put the quotation when you write, when you take from somewhere, you are not citing the reference, you are not putting the quotation marks, all these things also one of this. And giving incorrect information about the source of quotation, not giving proper information, changing word to word and paraphrasing it, that also amounts to plagiarism. Copying so many words, again it's about the copying so many words, ideas, and paraphrasing it, and majorly it is the same thing, that also cannot be done. So that all these things are come under the scientific what is scientific misconduct? So somebody's work, plagiarism, falsification, everything. You're not giving credit, everything comes under this. So we need to be careful whenever we take help from somebody, and we need to uh, do something with their data. Then we need to, and somebody's idea we are using, we need to be careful, and we should, one thing is you give them credit because it is their idea. Okay, so next one we are going into the plagiarism. So plagiarism, most common one, cut, copy, paste. It is a normal behavior in most of the students, and we have to teach them never use. There are several plagiarism softwares which are available, like Turnitin is there, and there are Authenticate is there. All these are the plagiarism softwares, because of earlier, maybe when the uh, use of internet was not so much, maybe there was no internet, there was no uh, journals which are available online, maybe imagine before 90s. So there were no such kind of thing. We have to go to the library and search in the library and make a note. So that time there was no chance of plagiarism. Unless until you read the article, you can't write anything. Now it is not like that. Everything is available. Everything is available in the net. You can use it, and you can just within 1 or 2 click, less than a second is enough to cut, copy, paste. So somebody has given one example, makki to makki. So it is fly, fly to fly. So one student has written a notes. So the other person was copying the note. And when he was writing, not writing the notes, so there was one mosquito. So when he closed the book, the mosquito died there. So it was there in between, in the running notes, there was a mosquito there. So the other person who was, while he was copying word to word, everything was copying. So he saw the mosquito. So then he thought there's something with the mosquito. He killed one mosquito and stick there in his book also. So that way, so it was mosquito to mosquito copying. So without even knowing what is written there, without even knowing what people are doing about this and how they are written, there are people or the students, they copy each and every sentences. So here in the current science, I read this, so I thought I will tell you about this. K.R. Rao, he has written most of this misconduct, which was not happening earlier because we have to go to library and sit there and read the articles, read the abstract. There are so many chemical abstracts were there in the library, and finally write in notes. Then finally we used to write the manuscript. But now it is not like that. Nobody wants to read. Nobody wants to take anything. Just copy the everything, images, copy the table, copy the contents, copy the diagram, photographs, everything is copied and just taken and said that it is our own. So it amounts to plagiarism. The original author may complain to the publishing house and say that it is copied. So as per Webster dictionary, it is kidnapping. It is like kidnapping. So you are somebody's idea, you are kidnapping. So it can be intentional or unintentional. You may not be aware about this, or you may be aware of this. So it accidentally you are doing because you are not referred properly. Or there is also the self-plagiarism. Now recently UGC also circulated what is self-plagiarism, and it is also when your own paper you are copying, then also you have to say that this is taken from this paper. So the quotation should be there. Self-plagiarism is also not allowed. And intentional, you know that you are going to copy, you know everything about it because you don't want to do hard work. You just cut, copy, paste. So that is a other one. So I'm not going to some IIT and NIT. They have taken the vision and mission statement and copied from IIT. This is done by recent NITs. So this vision mission statements which is taken, they also said, you as you know in the NAC and all, they say best practices. Best practices are what are the good practices you follow in the institute. So finally they also explained this is a best practice because they are doing it. Their vision statement is that, so we have taken their vision statement. Imagine how much time those institute has developed, how much time they spend on those vision mission statements. And new institute is coming and directly taking those vision mission statement. That is not good at all because the time spent by the institute on preparing the document. And once you are not involved in preparing the document, any policy documents, vision, mission, anything, then you are not actually actually involved with that. If you are not taking a lot of time, you take only 1 minute to cut, copy, paste. But the effort which is done by the people who has developed those things, which should be always recognized, proper credit should be given to that. And same thing happened with the South Illinois University. Also, they prepared the plagiarism. This is all this. I am not telling it's not my own. It is in the different articles which it has been published. So several of this kind of things happened. So about the plagiarism documents, I will not go into much detail. You know this controversy of Three Idiots which happened, which is one of the Chetan Bhagat's novel, 5 Point Someone. Somehow this was resolved after that. So, but you can see those the plots were there in the uh, book, the 5 Point Someone, if you read. So the same type of characters were there with the different names, but finally they were saying that they did not give proper credit to those articles, those book. That was a controversy. Then somehow it was resolved. And Mark Zuckerberg, the inventor of the Facebook, he is just a verbal communication. His friends, four of his friends who sat in the coffee shop, and they discussed about this idea. And Mark Zuckerberg, uh, who took this idea and further he made the Facebook. He invented the Facebook, so networking website, and because of that he made millions of billions of dollars and all. So he's the richest man, right? But some of his friends said that we are also involved in the discussion. We did the brainstorming. Because of that he could invent the Facebook. So with all this discussion happened. So some went to court saying that the discussion happened, and he agreed. There was a discussion, there was a brainstorming, and finally come up with this idea. And he did the out of court settlement and paid a lot of money to those people. And there are several such kind of plagiarisms which were observed. These are some of the examples. I'll not go into details, which happened in many cases. And this is one of the regulatory independent, like NGO or something like that, Independence Society for Scientific Values in India. This is working on this. Former IASC professor who developed this, and they are trying to find what all articles which are plagiarized, and they give the report in that uh, website. So there are several of such kind. Mashalkar also uh, there are several such controversies against Dr. Mashalkar also, but he also clarified exactly what happened in those articles. And this is one of the important controversy which happened with the DNA discovery. Crick and Watson, who got the Nobel Prize for their discovery, and they were not sure when they were doing their work. They were not sure that they are going to invent they're going to make this discovery, double helical structure of DNA. Uh, they were also not sure what will be the actual structure of DNA. Then later they said in their books that we were not able to do it. And we visited a crystallographer lab, that is Rosalind Franklin, uh, who died in the year of 1958. She was X-ray crystallographer, and they looked into her papers, and they found out from her papers that it is definitely a double helical structure. So because of her papers, they could get the clue that it is of double helical structure, and she is also responsible to identify this. But because she died, she could not get the Nobel Prize, and these two people got the Nobel Prize. These two scientists got the Nobel Prize, and actually she's also responsible to identify this. And stem cell research, Professor Hong, from a famous scientist from Korea, who was doing a lot of work on stem cell research, and he published a paper in Nature. And one of his collaborators who withdraw his name from the paper and said that I am not sure all the result which he has mentioned in the paper are correct. So it was a controversy. Only I'm sure about only 3 results and from that the controversy was increased, and Nature people came to his laboratory to find out actually what happened, actually whether all the research, whatever he had produced, is right or wrong. So finally, they found that these results were false and it was retracted. So similarly, there are several such kind of cases. I'll not go into much details of these cases because of the short time. And literature, it happened in the literature, music, all the field, poetry, everywhere it happened, the plagiarism. And there are several such cases of plagiarism cases, and you can find. So here is a cartoon which talks about the student has written Vadia, mean all my facts are wrong. And the teacher is asking whether it is from who has written this. It is Google, copied everything straight off internet. So, so everything you need to be careful, and people directly take it from the internet and produce it. And several cases it is happening. And Mona Lisa, the painting, you can see there is a difference in the painting, and we don't know which is original now. This is original or that is original. You can find so many paintings there. uh, so I'll not go. So here is also cartoon. It talks about that it is directly taken from the Google. So Google is uh, most of the students, if you put some of the words in Google, you can understand immediately whether it is taken from Google or something else. So now we go into the reasons, then two more topics, then I will stop it, right? So according to University of Alabama, they say these are the reasons: the lack of research skill, lack of writing skills, problem in evaluating the internet source, confusion about how to cite the source, misconception about the terminology, then peer pressure because you have to publish so many papers, you have to get the grants, poor time management. This also happens with the last moment we start writing it, and poor management, and product oriented writing assignments, cultural facts, cultural factors. So that's a culture. Why we need to do hard work? Just take it from somebody. That is our culture. So that culture we should. Laziness, we are lazy. Fear of failure. Language, we don't understand the language properly. That is also the reasons. Publish or prosper. The career advancement, we want we should be promoted. Recognition among the peers, we want recognition. That is also the reason for the plagiarism. How to avoid? We'll just talk about how to avoid. Some of the universities, they have the guidelines. Even UGC has come up with the guideline, and we need to follow those guidelines. Put the quotations, put the citations, we have to cite, we have to give the proper credit. Check the paragraph again and again so that we have not copied accidentally. Check it. If you're having doubt, you give the citation, you and acknowledge using the ideas and other, acknowledge them, whoever is done, acknowledge them. Even if you are using nowadays what people do when they publish and some of the work is done by the collaborator, for example biological work or the in vitro studies or the enzyme assays is done by somebody, some other collaborator, then the in vivo is done by somebody, then the synthesis is done by some other collaborator. So mention that, say that this is in the acknowledgement you mentioned the synthesis is done by this collaborator, and he is responsible for that. We are not responsible for the synthesis because he has done something wrong. We'll also, our name also will come. So what part in vitro studies is done by this collaborator and he is responsible for that. My responsibility is design and synthesis. I did design and synthesis, and in vitro studies is done by that collaborator, and his in vivo is done by that collaborator. He is responsible. So it is a better way. So if you are published, if when you publish or when this article is retracted, then you can say you have something to say, so that the your your work has not been plagiarized or something like that. You can defend yourself. Otherwise, what happens? You did not say anything, so you are responsible for everything. So here is the one spin boot. This very interestingly, I saw this. So there are softwares like Authenticate, Turnitin, everything. And if you use this software, it changes every fourth word, and you can see but the Turnitin software cannot catch the plagiarism. So you need to be also careful when the student give you the manuscript or the assignment whether they have plagiarized or not. So some universities have come up with these things, and it is our duty. We have to follow whatever rules which are given by the UGC and make sure that nothing has been plagiarized, nothing has been copied, all the results are correct. And last one is just talk about. So these are the Bloom's taxonomy words. Societies, I said already, Society for Scientific Values in India is there. So this society, and you can see a lot of plagiarism data is there. And the Office of Research Integrity in US, which also published so many articles. Check those, track those retracted articles. Retract watch is there. You can also find it from there. This is these are the some of this. And National Ethical Committee, we need to be, this guidelines are there. We can also follow COPE guidelines are there. We can follow those COPE guidelines and see to it that our papers are not plagiarized. So in conclusion, I would say that this is a very important topic you need to understand and teach your students. Nothing, we should follow the research ethics, giving the due credit to the person who has done, and we also give the credit and cite the reference, acknowledge everything, whatever who has contributed in the work, and do not plagiarize, cut, copy, paste this habit. Read many and many articles so that we don't follow into that trap, and see to it that students thus they write their raw data properly, and continue checking those data for all the spectral data, everything you check properly before you go for any publications in the papers. So these are some of the references for the journals. And thank you. Thank you, Columbia Institute, for giving me this opportunity to talk to you people, and thank you for your patient hearing. If you have any questions, I would like to take it. This is a photograph of Institute of Pharmacy, Nirma University. We are taken in the night. Just type of photograph. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your such informative and knowledgeable presentation. I now request participants, if they are having any queries, they may ask. Sir, I have one question.
Yes.
Sir, is paraphrasing is also considered as a the plagiarism if
Yes.
we
Yes.
paraphrase a particular? And
Yes, yes.
okay,
Yeah,
you mentioned in your slide about spinbot. तो
yeah.
उन लोग क्या करते हैं, we if we suppose copy paste our particular paragraph in that uh, uh, particular database, they just simply paraphrase by
No,
using.
no. This spinboard doesn't paraphrase it. It will change every 5 word. Every fifth word
Okay,
it changes. So,
okay,
for example, you say discover. In the fifth word is discover. It changes into invent.
okay,
So there are other words are used. So this Turnitin software, the good softwares are there for checking the plagiarism. It is not able to check this, not able to say that it is plagiarized.
okay.
So,
So,
so
but
that
sometimes when we use this type of database, it actually changes the meaning of our sentence, what we need to interpret.
yeah, yeah. We need to read and write.
Yes, sir.
Instead of copy paste, we have to read 3 4 articles or maybe more than that articles and keep aside all the books articles. Then we start writing from our own. That
Yes,
is
sir.
very
For
important.
that, we have to go line by line and check the meaning, what we need to interpret from actually
Yeah,
what the literature search has been done.
yeah. Mostly in the introduction and literature search, this happens.
Yes.
So
Okay.
you have to read so many articles and keep aside all those articles, close those articles.
Sure.
Then
Sure.
read it, write it your own. Then it's possible
Okay.
that we can avoid the plagiarism.
So I need to ask one more question. Is there any limit for self plagiarism, or we can?
No, recently UGC come up with the circular that self plagiarism also considered as plagiarism. So we cannot take it. We should cite the reference. There's
Okay.
the best way. You have done the work. It's your own paper. Just give the cite the reference. Then you
Sure.
can avoid wherever you are taken from there. Cite the reference. So the
Okay.
best way is cite the reference. You taken the sentence, anything, cite the reference. So nobody can claim that it is theirs.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions from the participant side? I think, sir, there are no questions. So, on behalf of Columbia Institute of Pharmacy, I thank very much that you spared your valuable time and gave your such immense knowledgeable presentation regarding plagiarism and ethics in research writing. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for you're doing a good work, inviting all the faculty and the students for this workshop and inviting good people in this. I've seen all your experts who are
Yes,
going
sir.
to deliver. That's a good thing, so that students and the faculty they can get knowledge in this area. And wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We'll now meet again for the lecture session at 1:30 p.m. So I request all the participants to join this session again at 1:30 p.m. for day 1 of STTP. Thank you.